All right, guys, welcome to another Leads to Deal podcast where we talk about everything from leads to deals and everything that we talk about leads to deals. I'm here with Joe Theriault today. He's with Inherited Property Solutions out the Northeast. He's one of those Boston, New Hampshire guys, as you'll hear here in a second, that's kind of doing his thing. I've known you, Joe, since August of 21 now, man. So thank you for taking the time out to come and appear on our podcast and talk about sales.
Sweet. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you're very welcome, brother. I think that for me, one of the things getting to know you is like you didn't, when you first got into this REI space, you didn't come really from a sales background, or what is your kind of origination?
Zero sales background. It was manufacturing, running machine shops, and just knowing how to be a machinist. Like, give me a piece of metal and a CAD and CAM, and like, let's go run a machine shop and make a product and stopwatch every second. Like, no sales background whatsoever. Zero.
And you were working for another company at this, or that was your machine shop?
That was my machine shop time, and it got to a point that I had bought rental properties. I was running a machine shop, and I owned a yoga studio. And I said, something has to fucking go. And the machining went. I said, either I'm gonna go do real estate full time, or shut the fuck up and like go be a machinist for the rest of your life.
Yeah.
Like, quit bitching about it.
I can't let that slide, because it's guys like you that scare the shit out of me on the streets, because you see a small guy like you, and I say small guy, but we're about the same size build, and you hear he's like, oh, he's talked about his yoga studio. And then like the guys that do yoga are also the guys that do martial arts. And so it's like this unsuspecting thing, like literally, I don't know another guy out there that's ever had a yoga studio. How is that intertwined into your life as well too?
Yeah, it's not as much. It really was a big part of my life. Like the journey that I went on to get to be a yoga studio owner, of where I look at where that business went to be. It was a journey of, at that time in my life, like I had to do something, just the whole life story to get to be yoga studio owner. Like, you have to be pretty fucked up to be there. And I use that as like how to maintain balance. I don't use that as much anymore, because that side of the yoga side of what it was that one principle of just doing body movement can really be body movement in any form. So just doing the asana of yoga to a certain degree is just one. So now I just do jujitsu, and that's my asana in balancing my mind and quieting it. There could be other things that I kind of miss about, like the meditation and the breathing and the different other limbs of yoga that would probably make me a little bit better balanced. Probably. You would think I would go back to doing more of that stuff. I'm just not there. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I have this theory about like really successful entrepreneurs, at least the ones that are in my circle. They almost have like this really extreme addiction type personality. And so they have to find something, some type of conduit, whether it's running, whether it's martial arts, whether it's cold plunges, yoga, whatever it is. And so when you see these successful guys who have this, it's like, for me, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, when I see a guy on the side of the street, I know I'm not but a couple of steps away from that guy, because I have such an obsessive compulsive disorder when it comes to anything. It's just, I just want to focus in on it, and I have to have that channel. So I'm curious for you as a guy, like, did you also have like this really high intense energy that you were trying to focus so that way you didn't go down bad paths?
Yeah, because I'm, the story, the original story is how I ended up 15 years ago, 20, I've been sober 20 something years, right? So, I mean, go figure out there's a whole fucking story just to get to that point.
Yes.
And just because you remove the alcohol and the drugs don't mean you're still not a prick. So then I got divorced, and that led me to, about whatever, 15, 16 years ago.
Well, congrats on the realization and the sobriety, and then finding the the outlet, man, the outlet to kind of make an impact. I was doing some research on you prior to this, and I didn't realize that your team was as sizable, like roughly 15 or so people in the total team in the Northeast. So, you know, that's a pretty sizable team. Are all those people there in the Northeast, or do you have some outsourced as well too?
Yeah, it's 17, man. We're running heavy right now. We're definitely running heavy. I'm definitely burning a little bit of capital to a certain degree and I have 2 in the Philippines. So the 17, 2 in the Philippines.
Wow.
Everybody else is here in the office every day.
Yeah, that's great, man. So let's talk about, because we talk about everything from leads to deals. I want to figure out how you sourced and got your first deal. Like, I know you said you bought a multifamily back in the day, but I mean, when you're at the machinist shop and you finally make that step out, were you already sourcing deals on the side yet? Or you just completely, for all those guys and guys are out there, they're like, I have no sales experience. I'm at a 9-to-5 type of job, or I'm stuck in this other career. You literally just said, hey, I'm going to jump into it first, or you started doing it and then pivoted?
That's a loaded question, but I'll try the best I can to answer it. Is because when people ask me about, oh, did I just go do it? So to answer your question, I left my job. I sold one of my apartment buildings. I sold my primary house. I had $30,000 and I had 6 months to make it. I said, either I fucking go or I go back to work. Like, I can always go get a job being a machinist, right? But to get to that precipice, I guess you could say, of that jump off point, dude, I worked my balls off for freaking years grinding it out in machine shop so I could buy those apartment buildings, so that I could have the experience to kind of know, even though there's nothing that ties into being a machinist to a degree to real estate, there's actually a lot in running a business and running guys and building relationships, right? So I didn't realize all those push-ups I was doing that you hear out there in the fucking land. Oh, I got to quit my job. It has nothing to do with what I got to do. Man, you'd be surprised what fucking comes back.
Yeah.
Don't even know.
Well, I got to imagine as a machinist, you know, your attention to detail would have to be through the roof. And so a guy like you who ultimately pivots into an unstructured industry, which was the reason why I was attracted to your guys' industry, because I knew nothing about wholesaling or real estate. 4 years ago, I didn't even think about the call center until about 3.5 years ago. And I just came into it and I was like, man, look at this fractured, non-cohesive, just filled with a lot of guys with not either a lot of sales skills or operational skills, and they were still making money. And so I assumed that when you came in with a certain type of experience that the bulk of this industry didn't have, even though you brought it in from something that wasn't sales oriented and it really wasn't REI oriented.
Kinda. I know where you're going, and I get it, because you would think machinist, super precision, which I was. But therein lies, I had to modify. I actually have the shortest attention span in the company. It's like a 15-minute fucking attention span according to PI, whatever it is, right? So I had to heavily modify to do it. So the fact that I could do that though, and modify and still be visionary, is why I did well in machine shops, because I could do the work, but I could also see the bigger picture from a manufacturing standpoint of like making fucking serious money, of like making the very first gun of like certain guns to going from 1 in 2 weeks to making 300 a day. Yeah. Right. There's lots of pieces there that you're building a manufacturing line. It's no different.
Yeah, I see a guy when I have somebody like you and you say like, hey, I didn't really have a lot of sales background, but you know, I'm just one of those avid believers that literally everything is sales. And so when you have a team as big as you had, even though it wasn't quote unquote direct to seller and wasn't a B2B or B2C, you were in sales. If you grew that company from 3 people to 80 people or whatever those metrics were in that company, it's like, you know how to paint a vision and walk people through that vision to get to whatever destination you want.
Yeah, because in what I didn't know, and I've like just more recently in the past couple of years has seen, is that like I had to sell what I wanted to do, because I worked across 3 shifts, and if I needed to make a change and I wanted to do this, I had to go talk to this person, I had to go talk to that person. I had to sell what I needed to do. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know. That's
when did you go into? All right, so you stopped the machinist. And then, like, how do you get your first deal? Like
Yeah, how
a
you get your
true,
first deal.
your true first deal.
True first deal was a bandit sign deal. I went and I was the bandit sign fucking king for a long time in New England. Thousands of bandit signs out. But originally it was bandit signs. I was out hanging bandit signs at 35 years old, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 35 years old. My wife was working a fucking corporate gig, like super fancy type of like person that probably wouldn't go hang bandit signs with Joe. At 2 a.m, we're out hanging bandit signs downtown Lowell, Mass. 2 in the fucking morning, ninja shit, hanging bandit signs. That's where it came from, man. And I got lucky. I'm not gonna lie. I smacked the fucking home run.
On that first deal?
The very first deal that I got under agreement, I built so much rapport with that lady. I didn't even realize what I was doing back then. And like, I was just talking to her, making her feel comfortable. She was single. She lived up like a couple blocks up from some family members. She was a little wacko. And I got her under agreement. I didn't have dispo or any of that other shit. No one else believed in the deal. Like, no one believed in the deal. I'm like, I'm telling you, it's a fucking deal. Like, I know. And I called someone that I had met that became my business partner, divorced business partner now, but business partner nonetheless at the time. And I said, hey man, well, like, he's like, I'll give you the money for the deal. I was like, no, dude, I'm like down to like my last $3,000. I'm almost back out with a job, and I'm not taking your money. And he said, well, how about this? I'll buy the deal. You know everybody down in Mass. We'll make it happen. And I said, okay, that sounds like a plan. We'll split it 50-50. We got it, cleaned it out, did our thing. The neighbors came over. She's like, our daughter's been looking for a place forever in the neighborhood. I think we ended up netting like $80K.
Wow.
Like in short time, which $40K for me at the time.
Yeah.
Shit, I was a $50K a year machinist. You know, like that was fucking money.
That's what I was going to ask you when you were doing bandit signs, is because that was the marketing channel you found the easiest, or that was the marketing channel that was affordable?
I mean, it's that's just where I went. I went down 2 roads, which is a longer play. Bandit signs, you know, it's inbound. It's a little faster, right? So that was the one of the first things I did, and I did how IPS Cash was born was Inherited Property Solutions.
Yes.
I believed I didn't have a sales background, and I believed that I needed to be I needed to create a persona of like I was the best in the inherited space, and that's where I really launched. Was for a long time, attorneys knew me. I'd go to bar events. Like, dude, I have a whole spiel on the inherited side.
Which also has, for the people listening though, has a really long conversion cycle, or can, because you're dealing with title issues, probate issues, et cetera, et cetera. So the fact that you chose that and were able to monetize within that, and being kind of newer, you know, within your first 6 months, year, or whatever it sounds like, of being in the space, choosing that channel and being proficient in it though, it's almost like it's got a higher barrier to entry if you don't know any better. It's like, all right, well, you may not have chosen that had you have known all the complications that come with being the inherited property guy.
Like now I don't do it as much. Everyone's like, why aren't we doing it? And I'm like, because it takes way the fuck longer. I'd just rather run TV or radio or whatever, the direct mail, cold calling. Like, all right, sorry, I'm on a cold calling. Cold calling. I want to do cold calling. It's just, I didn't know what I did. To your point though, like a question or two back was, what I saw was no one was servicing that. Yes. So I saw a way in that there was a lot of other white noise out there. So bandit signs were cheap, to answer that question. That was an easy way in, a couple $100 at the time. I had hundreds bandit signs. You know what I mean?
And you were how old when you dropped your first bandit sign?
I'm 46 now. It's probably around 36.
Yeah. And so, and for people who don't know what bandit signs are, because we're using industry proficient language, there's guys and gals of any age that are out there. They're like, hey, I want to get into REI space. I'd die for an $80,000 deal or a $40,000 split. Explain to them exactly what it is, a bandit sign. And then like real quick, how you had to put them out if you were having to do it at certain times of the day so you didn't get in trouble or whatever it is. Explain to the people what bandit signs are.
Yeah, I want to do bandit signs again so bad. I wish I could. We're too well known in the area though. But Anyway, it's basically a yard sale sign, right? If you think about it, it's a yard sale sign that you're either putting on an H stake, a wireframe H stake. So you're taking that bandit sign with H stakes and you're sticking it outside Home Depot, every major intersection, right? And or you're nailing them to telephone poles. All of those things are not illegal. They're not a criminal offense. They're a civil offense. And the town has to track you down to get to you. So it's not criminal, but it's against sign ordinances in town. Okay. So, and then if you nail them on the telephone poles are owned by electric companies, right? So you're actually trespassing to a certain degree. So there's lots of things at scale there to watch out for. But I personally would tell anyone still to go put 100 bandit signs out and give me a call when you get a deal.
I watch my business partner in the Orlando office. It's a gentleman named Alex Cazada. I don't know if you know who he is, but we do now commercial real estate together. He's my partner in a couple of businesses. But I remember I was running a travel club. This is in like mid 2000s. And he was like, hey, boss, hey, I'm going to go ahead and leave. Thank you so much for all the sales that I learned here. But I'm going to go do wholesaling. And I didn't pay much attention to him. But I just remember we would still always get up on the weekends and go have a beer or whatever it may be. But it didn't matter how much that young man drank or what his night was. At like from midnight to 3 a.m., he would in the back of his Jeep, it would be filled out with just stacks and stacks and stacks. And he'd have black marker stuff all over his hands and stuff because he was hand doing it. But he dropped those for months and years, I should probably say, but years and years and years. But that low barrier to entry and being able to source his own deals has ultimately led to an exhaustive multi-million-dollar portfolio. And so for the guys and gals that are out there like, hey, I don't have a lot of sales experience right this second. You know, I have a passion for being independently wealthy or kind of building my own portfolio or getting out of my career. Sometimes it literally just takes a dollar yard sign, a Sharpie, well placed in the middle of the night, and then the persistence to not give up and realize, because no disrespect, it's humbling at 36 years old to have your bandit signs in your car driving around late at night putting up signs.
Right. Like I came from a place of like, I got away from being, you know, like I haven't drank since I'm 22. Like I'd, you know, run machine shops. Like I was doing pretty well for myself from that, you know, from that standpoint. And to go back to hustling and being a hustler was definitely a you know, a humbling experience. Yeah. A humbling experience. No fucking doubt.
The first deal didn't, or maybe you may feel differently, but may not have made you a business. You know, it made you a deal, right? You got a deal. At what point did you say, okay, all right, so now we're going to start to turn in this into kind of like a sales-based company where, hey, I'm going to go out to the appointments, or did you start right out of the gates having people underneath you? How did the first like 40, 50 deals go through?
Man, that's like, because I had a business partner to a certain degree, and the road I chose, I guess, was probably more non-traditional than most. I didn't want to have to worry about money to a certain degree from a capital management perspective and a finance perspective. That's the stuff that I actually hated the most. So my big thing was to just keep marketing and getting the deals done. So it was like this weird evolution of, I just kept doing the marketing side and doing bandit signs and doing enough deals that there was no wholesaling for me for the first however long. Everything that we did was like we bought it, took it down. I didn't wholesale anything. I either showed up at your house and I pitched to a real estate listing, right, or I built enough rapport that either I'm going to buy it or I'm going to list it. There was no wholesaling, none. I couldn't do it. Like I couldn't get over the mental barrier of it all. And then like, I'm going to say like 5 or 6 years ago, it ended up being like, the only way I can monetize this is like texting first came out, all these different things. I was like, the only way I can make this work, I would see so many different things because my partner was real strict. And I like till the day we divorced, I had to convince him of every deal that we bought. I've done fucking so many deals, and I'm still having to convince them.
Pitch.
So it was like hard to see all the things that I would have done a deal on if I had the capital, right? And I was in control. So it was this weird evolution for me of then wholesaling came in. There was a time, and that's when I had met what's his name there? What's the other group you're not in? Not CG.
Boardroom.
Yeah.
And I had met Haida.
Oh, Robert Hyder.
So I knew Haida years ago, and through boardroom and whatnot, we kind of like started to wholesale more. So, and that's when we started to like edge it in. Probably like 6 years ago, 7 years ago was probably, it took a few years to start to transfer over.
When it was just you and the partner, was it just you as the sales guy? Like you were the guy who was walking into people's kitchens, sitting on people's sofas, having those conversations with them right there in the house?
Yeah.
And you had never done face-to-face in-home sales before?
Nope.
Wow.
Very first appointment, you want to talk about your dog?
Yeah.
You want to talk about your dog, Jing? Like one of the first 5 appointments I go on, Bandit Sign in Nashville, New Hampshire. Lady calls up. She calls in. She's like, "Oh, I'm not so sure about this. I'm uncomfortable." I'm like, "Listen, I live right up the street. I'm in Nashville." And she's like, "Oh, I don't know." I said, "Listen, I'll bring my dog. How bad can I be if I have a dog, right?" So I bring my dog to the appointment. They're fucking high as fuck in there. They're high. They got MS, so they're smoking weed like no one's business, right? And she's got a condo. It's in nice shape. I take the dog in. She's like, "Oh, why don't you let him off? Let him off the leash. He's, big, friendly, fucking idiot border collie, running around, and nice carpets in there. And I'm going through my spiel trying to make it happen. Dog drops a fucking deuce. Right? And
on the carpet.
Dude, like I'm talking one of my first, it had to have been like first 3 appointments I go on, dog shits on their carpet in their house. And like, I forget what I ended up like picking it up with a plastic bag. And, I was like, "So you're going to sell me a house?" And like, I don't know. She was like, "Take your shitty dog and get out of here." I can't remember what it was, but like she was cool about it, but to a certain degree.
Yeah, you fucked up. That's great. You just think about, are you guys face-to-face? Well, let's talk about where your sales operation is at today. Are you guys primarily face-to-face, Joe, with your team?
It's, again, dynamic question. Yes, generally speaking, we're face-to-face. We close 80% if we go face-to-face.
You close what percent? I'm sorry?
80% if we're face-to-face.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Is that due to you guys?
That's contract signed. That's not all the way through. Contract signed. Okay.
But do you find that that's because you guys are filtering them to such a, because 80% is unheard of, like unheard of. I don't, at least out of people that I know, I don't know anybody who's going 80% on appointment. Are you guys doing a really good filtering before then? Like once you generate the lead, whatever marketing source, whether it be Lamasu or text, whatever, doesn't matter. Are you guys then putting them through some type of pretty robust, or is it just that your data is that dialed in and you guys?
I'm not that good. The biggest thing is just it's TV leads, and you know what I mean. So there's a lot of, I've been on TV for 3 years, so that's thousands and thousands of TV commercials, right? And I was on radio before that for a long time, so we're pretty known is one thing. We're professional when we show up. Everyone has the same match and stuff. There's follow-up, there's lead managers, there's QA calls, right? So there's a way higher closing percentage when we go out. It's not necessarily that we're screening them hard on the front. It's because we're able to innovate. We can list, we can buy, we whatever it takes to get a deal done.
Yeah, I think that's an important strategy. I always share with people when people reach out to me and they say they want services. My first question is, how many exit strategies do you have? And if they say, hey, we primarily wholesale or we only wholesale and we don't understand creative, we don't understand innovate, and we don't have a capital fund, it's like that's not going to help you in this day and age and never will get you to 8 out of 10 face to face in your world. And so for you guys, what is your primary blend right now? Are you guys looking to acquire more? Are you looking to wholesale more? What is it that you guys are focused in for 24? We're talking right now in January of 24.
24 right now is there's a higher push for just being a better sales organization and not rehabbing as much. We didn't rehab a ton last year. We keep pulling away from it. I get shiny object and I'm like, ooh. But the biggest thing is being a better sales organization so we can move more deals. That basically we have a go-to-market strategy of with some TV commercials recorded, a whole plan of like, call us. It's the Novation strategy, outward facing to the customer, that basically says, call us and we can give you the money to fix the house. We can fix the house, like all the different things, because just the cash offer thing is, it's tough right now with higher interest rates. People don't know what Barry Habib talked about, right? They don't know, they don't understand, and don't know the math of the interest. What is it? Marry the house, date the rate, right? They don't understand those things, and they're stuck and they won't sell their house. So we have had to really broaden that funnel to get the leads in. Right.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head for people out there that are, in this space or looking at this space. It's being a solution-based business. And the first time I heard that was in boardroom. And what you just said right there, it's literally like, hey, we're covering every outcome that they could potentially need, whether they need the capital, where we need to get them that price, or they can give us our terms, or we can buy it cash, or however you guys are setting up. But that talks really a lot about also being a better marketing company. Let's focus back on the sales side. What are you guys doing? And then what does your sales team structure kind of look like? I know you said you have leads managers. Are you guys doing daily meetings, or how do you run a well-oiled sales machine in the Northeast to get these types of numbers? Because there's people going to appointments that just simply aren't getting these types of numbers that you guys are getting.
Yeah. And I'd be willing. And so over the phone, we're not as good, but that's where I don't know the number, but I know it's down in that 50-60% right now.
Okay.
On over the phone, we're getting murdered. So that's one piece. So there's things we're doing good, but there's other, metrics beforehand and afterhand that we could be working on. Right. So to answer the question of what does staff look like right now, it's 1, 2, 3. I've brought inside sales, meaning lead managers, in-house.
Great.
We had them overseas last year, and that's why when I talk about bleeding a little bit of capital, I had to bring that staff in-house. So now we have 3 full-time lead managers sitting in the office, and those people are all on payroll. This is 1099. This isn't some half-ass fucking business. 1099, right. Health insurance, 401k, like it's fucking legit. So 3 lead managers. One of them's overseas, would be the 4th. And then I have 3 outside sales folks right now. Currently, 2 dispo folks, dispo assistant, 2 TCs, an inside sales manager, and that's with the COO and an office manager, right?
The inside sales manager, just to kind of focus on that for a split second, it's got to be tough being a sales manager in a face-to-face role. And one of the reasons why I have a deference and I prefer, the virtual, at least in my business, is number one, I'm in a different continent. So I don't have the luxury of being able to go to somebody's house whenever we do deals. But also I'm curious about guys like you, how you do quality control, how you understand the caliber of their consultations when they are in home and it's not being recorded, or what are you doing to get them to report back exactly what happened, and how do you make tweaks in their pitches if in fact they're only in the house by themselves with no manager there with them?
Yeah. So I could spend a lot of time on that. That's a fucking long question, a long answer, but. Yes. So you said, I want to make sure I answer it right though, because you said inside sales. So do you want the answer for inside sales, or do you want the answer for outside sales?
Oh, you consider, okay, I did not realize. So you consider the guys that go face to face to be outside sales, not just they work inside your office. Understood.
Yeah. So the outside sales guys can be scheduled for a phone appointment or a belly to belly appointment.
Okay.
So they're doing both, and that's where I'm starting to divert. This year I hired a guy that has Verizon phone sales, and that's all he did was pound phones and close phones. So I am testing him a little bit on being more of our phone sales guys, because when I say inside sales, just think lead manager. That's what we call lead managers. Inside sales is lead managers. That's what we use. Outside sales means they're the closers, and that could be anything.
And so you have your phone closers and your belly to belly closers.
All wrapped into one.
Yep. So when they're doing belly, because obviously it's easy to understand the phone consultations. I assume you use some type of phone system where you can listen in, pull the recordings. But how are you as a sales leader taking your leads and making sure they become deals? How are you better training and getting insights into what happens face to face?
Yeah. So I don't know if you were in CG when this was, but there was so Annie Yatch and Jenny Hudspeth, and Jenny I think is in the offers a product out for lead managers and acquisitions folks and sales managers. Like I'd never done sales, never mind be a fucking sales manager, right? I had no clue. Right? I could bullshit myself way through sales. You can't bullshit being a sales manager. You just can't do it. I don't think anyway. So how was one of the things I did last year was I made sure I got training for myself. That was the biggest thing. I've tried to hire a sales manager multiple times. I've screwed it up. I have to go through and cut my teeth on it as much. I hate it. I hate holding people accountable. But what we do is a 15-day and 30-day protocol, very Ren Bartlett-esque. It all comes from that whole club. And because my thing is like you, I think anyway, is I want to know, because that's where I started to go. I want to know recorded calls. I want to know how it went. Right? In reality is you have the leads. If you're not closing the business to a certain degree, and I'm sitting down with you and you have so doing pipeline reviews weekly, it's doing 15-day, which is every 2 weeks, and a 30-day with them, and doing daily huddles. And it's on them. It's to make them a self-managing team, not like sitting there being that. Do you know what I'm saying?
Like a helicopter sales manager. You're not hovering over them at all times.
No. So they trained me on making them the accountable team. So I had success with it in 2023, where a couple guys were really, really struggling, and we would sit, we would talk through things, we would go through it, and they had to do it, right? I'm diving back in a little more now, but that's how it was.
Well, for me as a sales manager, when I hear that, because I haven't had to face that struggle yet, but it's like, hey, whatever, it's like every loss, there's an opportunity for gain. So yes, in fact, I can't listen to their pitch, but I've set up these, you being the I, have set up these additional KPIs on either before they go out for the day or their weekly follow-ups. It's like we can see the shadow of how that sales presentation went if we're actually looking for it when we review the numbers. And you built a business model that affords you some amount of runway before you know, hey, this guy's going to get it or he's not going to get it. And then we can either cut our losses or try to find what's in the numbers to tell us what he's doing wrong in his consultation.
I can see it in 2 weeks, right? Call time, appointments, offers, deals. It all falls in to one of those fucking four. And inevitably, when they stop getting deals, the call time drops. We circle back on to making calls. You know, it's really tough to wrap your head around that from a standpoint when you want to I want to go and I want to strangle people sometimes. And like, dude, come on. Like, what the fuck didn't you say this for to the customer? And that's just like, Then there are other things we could be doing that we're trying to implement, but that's what I've had to go off of.
Are you hiring them with face-to-face sales experience primarily, or are you taking them from any vertical?
I'm taking them from any vertical.
Uh-huh.
We have a one of the people has built out our recruiter. We had a recruiter more along the Rob's mentality a few years back, which was very car salesman, bring 4 in, keep 1. Right? I couldn't do it. I wanted to hang myself. We've gone to right people, right seats. Very like you gotta earn your seat here. Like multiple interviews, and so right now we have the new guy that I brought on, and 2 of them both had experience in sales, and the other one worked at another wholesaling company somewhere else. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's good. I have certain industries that we prefer, but I always say it's like, if you just give me a good person, I can teach them the process and the product. I'd rather have a good human than a good salesman that's a bad person, because they're not going to last. They're going to create some type of cancer in the floor, and you just can't fix bad mojo. And I don't want that person in my organization.
That was one of the big things that happened in 2023. I hurt. It hurt. I had to let my top sales guy go. That was going to be sales manager. And it was just, it got to be too much cancer. I went down to 1 sales guy, and I had to go back out on appointments again. You know, so it, and that's why I've had to invest capital into building a team so that I'm not out on the out covering appointments again. You know, it's not good for the business. It's not good for everybody. I go do it, but it's not healthy. For me, it's not healthy.
No, I understand. And I remember when you guys went through that curve, she said something a second ago that sticks out a lot to me, because I got to see with my call center here, I get to see into a lot of people's businesses. And you said you can't bullshit being a sales manager. And that to me rings so true, because I'll have a lot of guys where they have their own REI business, they're direct to seller, but they're the CEO, they're the main guy, they actually have the real capital, they do a couple of deals, but then they bring on a team. And they don't really have the sales history or acumen or even knowledge to transfer that, but they get 1 or 2 rock stars, and then all of a sudden that rock star leaves, and it can be devastating to the business. And so, like you said, it's like, hey, listen, you know your strong suits, you've got your KPIs down, you've brought in the right staff to get through that, and sometimes it's more important to cut away. It's tough. I don't empathize with you to cut off the top guy, because you know what that was going to mean to the business. Even though pride may say, oh, it won't be that big of a deal, it impacts.
Fucking impact. But go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. The thing now is I have a bench. So investing and taking that hit allowed me to bring an inside sales bench. Now that inside sales bench, I know you cut your teeth. I know you're willing to do the work. I know you have the core values, and people that have come into that inside sales bench now, they're willing to pick up the call. They have half of the duty of an outside salesperson, basically, if not 3/4 of it down. And I can just poach them to go wherever I need in the company, you know? So boy, that it sucks to make that investment, because it means lower net, and that's humbling, because you're like, oh, I didn't make as much last year. You're a big shot.
Yeah. But the truth is like, I can take any of my qualifiers from here, and I can groom them into being closers. I couldn't take any of my closers in Orlando and have them do this. This is battle. This is the worst of all the roles in the sales cycle, which is pure cold outreach. And if you haven't had to do it, you really can't. But if you can do this, you can always make your way up. And so I see that as well too. Having that bench, it's been tremendous for us as we place our guys into other roles. I want to talk about real quick. At some point, me and you had spoke about mobile homes and doing that. Are you still invested into that? Do you still acquire any of those anymore? Because you were like the only guy I knew in Q2, Q3 of last year that was.
You stop talking about it, motherfucker? Like, you keep talking about it everywhere, and now everyone wants to do fucking mobile homes. God damn. I fucking hate when I tell people shit, because now people go do it. Anyway.
This will be the first screenshot for the promotion. Mobile Home King does deals New England, says plenty of room available.
Go do them in Massachusetts and New Hampshire exclusively. Anyway, we are. We're still doing them. I have multiple on the pipe, and we do them. And the thing is, in New Hampshire, there's only 100 packs here, and very small amount of affordable housing here in New England. So, and I have a reputation with these packs.
Yeah,
you're not Joe Bob the wholesaler that hasn't done a deal. You ain't doing in the packs. Very rare. You better know. You know how to do the dance. Like I have my attorney involved with 3 of the packs right now because these packs want to be king of their domain, and they think they can do and say dictate to the seller what they can and can't do with that home. Because in New England, I can put a mobile home in a pack under agreement for $100,000. Okay, that pack wants the mobile home, and they're trying to get first right of refusal or whatever because they can rip that mobile home off of there, put a new one on for $100,000 and make $100,000. See the problem? Okay.
Yeah, I do.
Now there are laws that say even though you may have signed something, there are laws in RSAs that say that the seller can sell to whoever they want. So just because the pack makes some fucking rule doesn't mean it trumps law, right? Real estate law. So I have the bandwidth and pockets and budget that I set each year for an attorney that they go sideways. We just send them to my litigating attorney and we smack them around a little bit and get them in line.
Well, and that's also why people have such high breakage is they don't have the experience or the resources or the budget for that. And so you'll get guys who try to go into these specialty niches, whether it be inherited properties or mobile or whatever, something that's non-traditional single family. And they can put as many deals as they want under contract. They're just not going anywhere. And so until you have this robust portfolio or experience, just kind of stay in that original lane, just get your capital right, and build up your business that way. It'll be less brain damage because I'm sure there's been a lot of brain damage along the way for you.
Yeah, and it stinks when 3 deals are up on the board, but think they're closing that month, and then you got to get them over to the attorney. Yeah, that sucks. That sucks for everybody, you know.
So as a frame of reference for guys and gals out there, I'm actually recording my side of this from Columbia, South America. Outside of this podcast studio, there's my normal call center here. I've known you through my call center for about 2 years, actually over 2 years now. And I was thinking too, like for me, I know how strange it is for somebody in the REI space to have a multi-year relationship with a cold call outfit. Like that's a unicorn in this space. That doesn't exist out there in this world. So I was proud of that. I didn't realize it had been that damn long that we've been doing business together. It's been a long time.
It is. I'll give you the fucking attaboy. I know that was like that was the setup. I was gonna say.
I got the close coming in a second.
I'll give you some credit, man.
Thank you.
It's really hard to work with Candy, meaning from a quality and expectation standpoint, and you guys do that. I'm talking like there's only 2 vendors that have made that out of, I can't tell you how many vendors that we deal with. Okay. So that being the case, that's a really good thing. You guys do what you say you're going to do. I've hired other cold calling companies. It's fucking terrible. Like we split me and you did business for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I just took a break on cold calling. It wasn't anything relationship based. Took a break because of where I was in my business at the time. And we came back over. When we came back over, over a year ago, we split test between you and another company. We started both the same budget, both the same. Within fucking 2 weeks, we were done with the other company. Nice. I was like, refund my money. I don't give a shit. I don't care about whatever contracts I signed. Like, we're not doing it. You guys have violated like every goddamn thing in this contract. Like, don't even.
Boston Joe.
Yeah. My biggest thing, every vendor, there's always small amounts of things. You guys over communicate. I tell everybody that asks me about you guys, I don't say anything bad when I talk about you guys.
Yeah, it means a lot, man. And I don't know if I realized who Candy was to you, the first part of the relationship, just because like she comes in like rough and tough and like she's our favorite avatar because she's invested in communication. And like you said, we overly communicate. Like we're a very hands-on type group. And, you know, she's one of those, I would much rather have, and I'll use the reference of a parent that cares than a parent who's not to be found. Because this is that relationship. Like we're here to better you, you know, like we have this relationship where you're still the boss, but man, I'd rather have my boss communicate with me than just no feedback whatsoever. And so she's been amazing to have as our liaison with your company, like the best.
Yeah, and that's that process person, you know, and me, I'll jump on and piss and moan every now and again, or I'll be like, all right, we got to do this with data. Or I'll jump on, create some issues, send some data over whenever, you know.
Yeah.
What about the Lamasu house? Because I've only heard fractions of this story. Did you have us source you a house?
Oh boy, I did say I was going to owe you a review. I never gave it to you. Okay. So are you sure you got a couple more minutes here?
Oh yeah, we got a couple more minutes. I'd love to, because I, honest to God, I do not know the story. I just know about it.
Man, I wish I could share screen with you. You're talking in New England, in where I'm at in Nashville, where my office is. We're talking 100,000 people live here. Okay, there's 20 houses for sale, 20 fucking houses. Nothing sub 500. The town that I lived in, half an hour from my office, everything 600 to a mil. Same thing with the two towns. There's Nashville, Hollis, Brookline. I lived in Brookline. All high price houses. You're talking maybe 5 houses for sale in Brookline, 5 houses for sale in Hollis, and then 20 houses for sale in Nashville. Okay. Last year at this time, we got to move to the office. This is killing me. We both drive 2 cars, half an hour back and forth. And you got to remember, man, I was homeless 15 years ago. I had not $500,000 house would be fucking high. What, and interest rates went up. So I was like, what in the fuck? And, I couldn't get anything. I couldn't I would have to spend $1 million to get anything I wanted. And that was what, I can afford it, but I don't want to afford it just on principle.
Yeah.
So that's just a little background. And then, so I said, you know what? We're going to pull every goddamn house in Nashville and I'm going to send it over to these guys. So we pulled everything that had equity or whatever it was. I think it was 50,000 houses we sent over. We right around June got a deal in Nashua, and it was a 3-bed, 2-bath ranch, about 1,500 square foot. Had a new roof, vinyl siding, good windows, it had the bones, and it was at $275, and I jumped on it and talked Candy into I'm a good rehabber, but I'm not a designer. And taking it to the way next level, dude, this house is, you're talking, I got the patio out back, I got the hot tub out back, the sauna, barrel sauna out back, jiu-jitsu mats down in the basement on Saturdays. Everybody since November 15th is when I moved in. On every Saturday, about 10 of my jiu-jitsu friends come over, all super high level guys, and murder each other. Candy, my son down there, full on murder round, trying to kill each other. And we go out in the sauna, go to the hot tub, dude, you don't know what you guys did for my life. You don't understand. And I don't think there are many, many things there of not driving back and forth. That other house I lived in Brookline, I own that outright. And that's just money sitting there that we're going to just sell it and put in my pocket. There's a lot of work on my end behind it. Don't get me wrong, but it's not going to render right if I show pictures up on the screen on my phone. It'll look dumb, but I came out, we made it a 2-bedroom house, knocked down walls, put in a nice kitchen, gold everything in there. It's just, dude, it's something else.
Dude, that's great. You have to send me pictures post this. I'd love to see some of the photos. The team had told me about it, and so here we talk about it as the Lamasu house. It's almost one of those things like I need to get one of those bricks and like just engrave, and one of those bricks in the footer that you can't see anywhere. It just says like Lamasu 2023 or something like that.
Right in the concrete pad.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's I mean, that's just a testament. And we went belly to belly, 5 minutes from my office, fucking cold call lead. They went out on the appointment that day, put it under agreement. They didn't live there. It was like, dude, it was just the ideal. Like, I had cash. I had other offers on it. We put it out for wholesale because I got to put everything out. I had 50 grand over what we bought it. What we had it under agreement for. I had offers for 325 on it.
Nice.
And I still had to pay my team out on it, but so it was a deal. It was a true deal.
And so, is that your permanent residence now? Is that where you live now?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Dude, I talk about this with the guys. It's the butterfly effect of what we do, and it's not just this particular situation. It's also all the contractors that got paid in the development of your house, and all the people who had an additional job because of that, and helping that seller out. And it's just now you, like you said, it's a better quality of life. Because you're closer to your office, you have a great place for your colleagues and teammates to come over and create memories. And it all started because some kid didn't give up on the first objection that they got on a cold call from Colombia, South America, into the Northeast United States. And they sent over a lead. And then your team did what they were supposed to do, which is treated it like a real lead and created a contract and ultimately the story out of it. It's like, it's great, man.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Dude, all right, I love it. That's a great way to end this, my man. One of the things I'm proud of too is when I go to these events that we're both at, you have people talk about you as one of the most. People definitely talk about you behind your back. That's just you. You are a tough, rough, authentic person, and that's pretty much what everybody says. Like you don't sugarcoat anything, and that's why your approval when you tell people about my services carries so much weight, because they know that you're not a BSer. Like you just tell it how it is. And so for you guys and gals that are listening out there, if you have a deal in the Northeast and you need to move a deal, if you're in like Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, you have a deal under contract, you need capital, you need a buyer, you need to dispo it, they should reach out to you, right? Because you have the whole back end infrastructure in place, and you'll tell them if it's a shitty deal or not.
Oh, I'll definitely tell you. I'll fucking tell you. I'll help you any way I can, man. You know, like truly, that's the thing I think that I will do is I'll help somebody, and people like, they're kind of an asshole, but once you get to know me, I'm like not really being an asshole. That's just how I talk, and people from Boston won't second guess it. But anyway, I'll tell you what's up.
Yeah, and listen, we've never bumped heads that I can recall. But I know I've always been very cognizant of how professionally aggressive you are. And it's like, that's the kind of person I want to dance with. I'd much rather dance with a professionally aggressive person or pleasantly aggressive person than somebody who's just going to go soft meandering through my relationship with them. Like, we're here to make money together. It's the reason why me and you got to know each other. And as long as I do my job and you do your job, we can both continue to do it, and we can hold each other mutually accountable. We can talk, unsugarcoated to each other, and it's a great vibe. So I'm really, really appreciative of my relationship with you and Candy. And whatever else we can continue to do in the future to help you, we do it. I think that when I do my takeaway from this, and I think about this later, I always focus in a lot on the young men and women out there, the 18 to 19-year-olds, the 20 to the 21-year-olds. But your story is the first story I've heard where you really built up a monster operation from like mid to late 30s, raw dog. And so to me, it's like, this is the testament. Joe Theriault, CEO of IPS Cash, Inherited Property Solutions, literally started over probably for the third or fourth time in your life. And this one, you laid it out, man. You did it. I love it.
Thanks.
You're very welcome, dude. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming on. Anything else, Joe?
That's it, brother.
All right. I appreciate it, brother. Thank you for everything. Thank you for your time today. If they want to reach out to you, how do they find you though, Joe?
Facebook, look me up on Facebook, or Joseph Theriault. Instagram is Boston Joe Theriault, ipscash.com, and our dispo side for dispositions is discountedpropertysolutions.com. Somehow you'll get in touch with me in one of those ways.
Awesome, brother. All right. Thanks for coming on again.
You're welcome.